New this morning, the Amber Alert for this 5-month-old baby has been canceled. The Kingfisher County Sheriff's Department out of Oklahoma City says the baby, Olivia Smith, was found safe in Seminole, Texas early this morning. That's just 30 miles east of Hobbs here in New Mexico. The Amber Alert had been issued after investigators thought the girl's great aunt, Cindy Finley, there on the left, abducted her. Police say Finley has a mental condition and possibly was thought to be with another woman, maybe going with all of them to Salt Lake City, Utah. Now, we talked with the Kingfisher County Sheriff's Department just a few minutes ago. They say they have conflicting reports on if any arrest was made, particularly of Finley. The police chief in Seminole, Texas, is expected to talk about all of this and the baby very soon. As soon as we learn more, we will pass it along to you. It's still developing this morning. It is pretty clear it was no accident that caused a Malaysian jetliner to go down in Ukraine yesterday. The 298 people on board are dead, and now American intelligence authorities believe it was a surface-to-air missile that brought the Boeing 777 down yesterday. But this morning, a U.S. official says they are still working on who fired the missile and whether it came from the Russian side or the Ukrainian side of the border. The flight was flying from Amsterdam to Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia. Ukraine is accusing pro-Russian separatists of shooting down Malaysia Flight 17. We are following the development and we'll have more for you as we learn more. We do know more about some of the passengers on that plane. Several world-renowned AIDS researchers and activists were on board. They were en route to an international conference in Australia. They include the former president of the International AIDS Society, Joop Lang, a well-known HIV researcher from the Netherlands, and Glenn Thomas, the World Health Organization's spokesman based in Geneva. He too was also on board. Two people are in a whole lot of trouble this morning for their involvement in a recent high-speed chase here in New Mexico. Bernalillo County deputies say the chase started after 28-year-old James Litterall almost crashed into the gates of their North Valley Command Center just before 1 a.m. Thursday. When a deputy pulled up to the truck, they say the suspect threw it in reverse and just missed the patrol car. The chase ended after Litterall crashed into an SUV at Manal and 12th Street. The suspect and his passenger, 33-year-old Lucia Jimenez, tried to run but were quickly caught. Investigators say Litterall was driving a stolen truck and was either drunk or high. He had a felony warrant for battery on a police officer. He is now charged with fleeing and aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. His passenger is charged with resisting arrest. Education, economic development, and water. Those are the top discussion items at a summit Governor Susana Martinez is holding today with the New Mexico Native American leaders. This is video right here from the first annual summit back in 2009, mandated to address issues of mutual concern. The leader of the Fort Sill Apache tribe out of Oklahoma is attending this year's summit, representing the tribe for the first time at these meetings. You see, back in April, the state Supreme Court ordered that they be recognized as a New Mexico tribe after the feds designated a 30-acre parcel in southern New Mexico to them. There are 23 tribes and pueblos in New Mexico.
The death of a man from Albuquerque may spark national change in the Veterans Administration. That's what the acting head of the VA said when he was in town yesterday. Jim Garcia, right here, collapsed inside the cafeteria at the Albuquerque VA hospital 2 weeks ago. Workers tried to help him, but Garcia had to wait for an ambulance, even though the ER was just yards away. Garcia died after that. It is the VA policy to call an ambulance if there is a medical emergency outside of the main building. Now, acting VA Secretary Sloan Gibson here says he's looking into possibly changing that.
We're going to step back from this and take a fundamental look at how we position ourselves to respond to these kinds of emergencies in the future.
Mr. Gibson also says the VA is looking at ways to cut down on wait times, fix the scheduling issues, and perhaps the toughest task of all here, rebuild trust. Well, after they leave the battlefield, certain sounds can be especially haunting for a lot of veterans. So one vet here in New Mexico suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, is picking up a guitar to get a little relief.
I work on base, and there were some exercises going on that were very familiar sounding, and it kind of made for a bad day for me. And the only thing I could think of doing was grabbing my guitar and playing around on it.
The gentleman, Mr. Mitchell here, realized when he played the guitar some symptoms of PTSD subsided, and he wanted to share the discovery with others who were suffering. At the very beginning of the year, he made some calls to see if people would be interested in helping vets learn to play the guitar for free. And now there are 8 teachers and 16 students, including Thomas Rascone.
I can focus on the sound of music, the love of music, more than myself, trying to dissect myself. I do that a lot.
The program is called Full Battle Rattle. The group relies on donations from guitars to time at rehearsal spaces. You can find out more about this. Now you can get involved if you have some talents to share. It's called Full Battle Rattle again. It's at KRQE.com.
When you suffer the death of a loved one, the last thing anybody needs is a bureaucratic hassle. But a change in the way the state does business has created just that for people waiting on a death certificate.
I sit here and wonder, what did he die of? And I want to know. And he had medical bills and he had other bills, and they want a copy of the death certificate too, so they'll stop bothering. And the way I look at it, if they're doing this to me, they're doing it to everybody.
You see, 5 months after Ed Chavez's 38-year-old son Marty died following hip surgery, he's still waiting on a death certificate. On special assignment, Matt Grubbs found the holdup for Marty Chavez's death certificate is a toxicology report because the cause of death wasn't obvious. Those reports are the job of the state's scientific laboratory division. Prior to 2013, the lab almost always finished that job within 8 weeks. But in January of last year, the Office of the Medical Investigator stopped paying for a private lab and began sending cases to the state's scientific laboratory. Total cases doubled, and within 7 months, the lab was extremely backlogged.
We've had people come in 5 weeks at a time on weekends. We've had people working 6 days weeks for over a month at a time.
Mills says some staffers quit because of the workload. 3 new people have started in the tox lab, and there's money for 4 more. The hope is to eliminate the backlog by this fall. For more on this story, go to our website, krqe.com.